My earlier memories go back when I was 8. Not the earliest, the most vivid. I lived with my mom in a strange assembly of half rooms, half corridors and entrances, a sort of a passing through to somewhere else. It was the floor above a music club. A thin curtain protected our privacy. The manager's office was on the same floor, also storage space for the club's essentials and us. We lived sopping in the smell of alcohol, the sound of music, the taste of beer, which I was allowed to sip every now and then, the view of laundry hanging from the balcony of the apartment across in the mornings. We simply lived. Whenever my mom passed out from too much drinking, I had to wrap up the club's kitchen at night before sleep. In the morning, I would wake up and go to school, wearing my school pram, which felt fresh, clean, even if still a bit moisty, but at least you had found the energy to do that much for me. However, I had a small gain out of this unusual activity for my age. In our only cupboard, next to the sink upstairs, I had seen a black case, and I wondered what that was. One day, I dragged a chair next to the open cupboard, climbed up to reach the upper shelf, and I managed to carefully pull down the case. It wasn't heavy. When I eagerly opened the strange box, I was astonished to discover a shiny violin and its bow sitting in there as brand new. I tried whatever I could think of and played the violin. It was great fun. So every time I went downstairs to wash the dishes, I would also take the violin with me. The musicians that came to the club regularly were enjoying my presence and even showed me a few things so I could keep up playing repeatedly 1 or 2 notes, and slowly they let me accompany their bands in their songs with that. Usually they were guitar players, but it looks like Strings to Strings had a lot in common. So there I was, integrated in a sense in mostly rock bands with the violin that I had announced mine. One day I asked Mom about it, and she said in her always disinterested tone that it belonged to her when her dad, who played really well, tried to give her lessons by hitting her fingers with a thin stick whenever she made a mistake. She got up, saying that she didn't want to remember those horrible times. I understood that this was her memory before her dad eventually left both her and her mom, my grandma. She had to drink over that the whole afternoon, so I stopped asking her about it altogether. I just took the violin and put it under my desk. At 20, my mom died. I became the manager's secretary, since I had learned to be a typist by then. When the famous violinist Elliot Glenn came to town, he played at our club. We were introduced to each other, and not long after, we started dating. He stayed in town less than a month, and after that time, I decided to leave with him for the big city, New York. We settled in a small but colorful neighborhood not far from the center, and I started my typing work right away, since Elliot, despite being quite successful, was not very solvent when it came to money. I also started going around the clubs, searching for small gigs with my violin, and that was well received. Soon after, I got pregnant. I decided to keep the baby. I felt it came to fill in the empty space my mom had left when she died, and Elliot, being a bit older now, welcomed the idea. But that was all. He loved the child, but didn't really participate or contribute to our household. He never played violin at home. It looked like he wanted to forget about his professional stress. He kept his professional life away, Eventually, he also took himself away. I had a lot of energy at the time, in spite of having a little baby, and also my father had connected again with me when the baby boy was born, and he spent quite some time with his grandson. So I had started taking acting classes in the theater school nearby. Vanessa, whom Elliot met in his professional circles, was a graduate of that same school already, working as an actress. She was very pretty. Elliot eventually left us when Joey was only 4.5 years old. Vanessa kept being a steady influence in his life, and he married her after all. I continued my acting classes until I also became an actress. Although I was encouraged and praised for my talent in the theater studio, I had no connections in the field other than my teachers, so it became very difficult for me to enter those same circles where Vanessa and Elliot were thriving. I started putting up performances in intimate spaces, kept my typing job in the mornings, and looked after my son, who was growing rapidly. My violin sat in the cupboard until my father decided to take it out, tune it, and started teaching his grandson, and remembering also the times when he played pretty well too. I just hoped he wouldn't start applying old teaching methods with Joey, like my grandpa did with my mom. But my son, who was 9.5 by then, seemed to enjoy learning from grandpa. Later on, enjoyed also learning little tricks and secrets on the violin from his dad, whom he saw more regularly as a teenager. Sometimes he even shared them with me, proud of what Elliot had shown him, but not always. Somewhere at that time, Lee Len came into my life, through Elliot Glenn. Not the Elliot Glenn we know so far, but his cousin/nephew, who lived in California and we had never met before. The one we know, insisted that Joey meets with his uncle, so Elliot number 2 came to stay with us for a couple of days and was also accompanied by his very close friend, the Japanese director Lee Len. I was happy to host them both. Lee Len was not in his 20s anymore, and neither was I. I felt a strange vibe passing through my whole body when I first met him, like an electric wire had gone through me. I also saw the impact I had on him. It was all awkward, it happened fast, and neither one of us had the determination or the will to stop what swept both of us in a swirling passion that we had never experienced before. We ran away together secretly one evening for California, and after a short stop, just for Lee to wrap up his belongings in some rushed manner, we flew from there to Sydney, which we decided to make the refuge for our love that we were experiencing moment to moment. I left my past behind, as if I walked out of the door to go to the supermarket. I hope Joey will forgive me someday for that. Eventually the passion calmed down, but never left us. We returned to California, where now we are doing films together in Hollywood, and slowly found our way into the industry, making sure we hold on to what is valuable for us. Further, I never gave up my violin, which led me to a very interesting solo career. More of an adventure, which took me to unexpected heights of creation. Joey was lucky. When I left, his dad took the opportunity to come closer and reconnect with his son. But also I, Polly, got the chance to get away from the tyrannical cloud of Elliot and Vanessa, which obscured my own life and creativity for such a long time.